Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dr. Westman. Today we're going to be chatting about keto and dairy. We also have a special bonus for you, which is Dr. Westman's free top 10 fat loss tips. We'll put a link in the description. You are welcome to download that. How are you, Eric?
Good. How are you, Glenn?
Very good, thank you. So today's topic is an interesting one, and most people think that keto and dairy go hand in hand, but it isn't necessarily the case, is it?
Right. Well, a lot of confusion about dairy, and we can hopefully shed some light upon that. Dairy is broadly defined, and most people, it's coming from milk, coming from different types of animals. So that means milk and cheese and cream and not eggs. I mean, that's a different subject. So just to clarify that if there's a dairy issue, this is not talking about eggs. So dairy, because of the proteins, because of the lactose that comes in milk, these are the places where people might have sensitivities or intolerances, and that's where a lot of the people will come to me saying, well, I can't have dairy. And so I want to just be sure that eggs are not in there. So most people do fine. But what's very curious in my experience is that people tell me they can't have dairy, and then I teach them the low-carb keto adapt approach, which talks about total carb reduction. And then they're eating things that they couldn't eat before, and they don't have the same intolerances that they thought they did before. So that's a fascinating sort of, I don't fully understand. I can explain why I think that's happening. But so you might think you can't have dairy, but then you do the ADAPT program and you actually can.
Now, it's true that some dairy is higher in carbs than others. Can you give us some examples of the different types of dairy that is actually high in carbs?
Sure. So, of course, the milk itself comes with a combination of fats, proteins, and carbs. Lactose being one of the most prominent sugars in milk. So the highest, so when you milk an animal, the cream rises to the top because the fats are a little less heavy, less dense. So in the old days, what you do is you'd scrape the cream off the top, cream of the crop, it has a good connotation, right? And then you make ice cream or drink the cream. So what's left in the skim milk, which was the milk that you've skimmed the fat off, is the sugar, the lactose. So actually, we've all been taught that skim milk was the best because it had less fat. Well, on a low carb keto diet, skim milk is the worst because that's where all the lactose and the sugar is. So cream is in, of course, don't want to have copious amounts and unlimited amount of cream, but sugar in the milk is out. So we'd say no sugar, and even, if 1%, 2%, it's still lots of sugar in that 1% milk, in the 2% milk. Now there's all of these other types of milks now, the almond milk, the cashew milk, the nut milks, and you have to look at the carbs in there as well. Well, we never studied the unsweetened almond milk or unsweetened nut milks. If you look on the labels, they are low in total carbs. And I've had lots of people use those unsweetened nut milks, and they seem to do fine because we look at the total carbs, and I teach them to watch the total carbs. They limit the amount, but we didn't use those in our studies, so I don't, guarantee that using those products are okay. But a lot of people like milk, and if you even just had a very small amount of real milk, watching the total carbs, that would be fine from a total carb standpoint.
Now, you spoke about dairy, certain dairy being limited on your program. So cheese and heavy cream, which I know is limited. Why is it limited?
Yeah, so there's the processing of the milk into cheese, and of course taking the cream from the milk means that it's very low in sugar. And this is where I've seen some people say, I can't have dairy, but I'm having cheese now, and I tolerate it just fine. So that there's not much lactose in cheese or cream. So if you're lactose intolerant and stay away from dairy, it's actually the milk that you want to stay away from. And the cream and the cheese is good in terms of just the carbs, or in terms of avoiding the intolerances of lactose intolerance. The problem with the cream and the cheese when you're teaching a keto diet, when people are trying to lose weight, is there's a lot of energy density. There's a lot of calories, a lot of energy in the cream and the cheese. So our program, which is basically a clinically based, it has to work kind of program, and then we studied it in over the last 15 years in clinical trials, basically limits the cream and the cheese because there is an abundance of energy. And I mean, so you want, if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to lose fat weight off your body. You don't want to be eating lots of fats and drinking fats in the terms of the cream and the cheese. So there is a limit there if you're trying to lose weight on a keto diet.
Is there a limit on butter, for example?
Yes. So butter being another example of a very low carb but high calorie item. So oils and butters are going to have a limit on them. Of course, you can use them in typical usage, like in a frying pan with your eggs, that sort of thing. But that's the cream, cheese, mayonnaise, butter do have a limit, because in practice, if you don't limit those things, you're not going to be drawing upon your fat store, which is what you're trying to do on a keto diet when you're trying to lose weight, fat weight.
Now, it's also been mentioned that dairy can cause cravings. Is this true with your experience?
Yeah, well,
Do you have an experience with this?
It's an individual thing. So that if you may find foods that cause cravings, or that make foods that you eat that make you want to eat more of them, typically nuts, nut milks might do that, and any kind of food can do that. You want to just be very careful. If a food does make you want it and you can't stop having it, again, the practical aspect of doing this to make it work is you want to avoid those types of foods. So yeah, probably the most common mistake I see when people learn keto on the internet out there is, well, but they said you could have as much cheese as you wanted. And cheese is very, very tasty. You get very nice flavors, and it's hard to stop eating that for a lot of people. And that probably is the most common reason that people reading the internet doing keto don't have the fat loss off their body, because they're over consuming the cheese, the cream in the coffee or the tea. If you use a unlimited amount there, it may stop the program. There's a phenomenon out there where you add oils and butter to the coffee, and you froth it up, and that can raise ketone levels. But the more fats and oils you drink or eat, the less the fat's going to come off your body. And one person was having that oil and butter in the coffee concept, and I calculated out how many calories were in there, and I think it was like 300 calories. And then I said, and how many of those coffees are you having throughout the day? And it was 5. So 5 times 300 times 15. No wonder you're not losing the fat weight off your body. So you want to be careful about the indiscriminate drinking and eating of foods that have lots of fats and oils and butter and cream. But the wonderful thing about a keto diet, when it's working right, when you learn how to do it right, is that the hunger goes away in just a day or two. It's like I'm giving a pill, prescribing a pill to someone to cut the hunger out, but you don't need the pill. So this is what I start with. As an obesity medicine specialist, I have lots of options. I can prescribe pills, I can prescribe programs that people purchase, but I start with the keto diet and for everyone as a default, because if you learn it right. You don't need those other kinds of pills and products that other people use from the get-go.
Now, do you have any experience with dairy causing skin conditions while on a keto diet?
So, I've become that doctor who I said I'd never become. The one that I remember as a young doctor, the doctor says, well, any drug can do anything. There's a list of side effects, and well, it's not on the list, so it can't. Well, I think that's true with food as well. That if you eat something and repeatedly you get a reaction to it, sure, I'm not going to say it's all in your head, because it's repeatable, and you may be sensitive to some of the proteins or in the dairy. Although I have to say it's not common. It may be common in large amounts when someone's eating large amounts or drinking lots of milk, but when you do a properly taught, formulated keto diet with real foods, and you watch the total carbs, you're not going to be getting much of the proteins or the fats that are causing those kinds of reactions, or the sugars. So as long as you're limiting the amount, you may find that you don't have that same type of reaction.
Now, in closing, I just want to mention and just ask you, it is okay, correct me if I'm wrong, for someone that is going on a keto diet that is allergic to dairy. It's okay that they don't have any dairy at all. So keto and no dairy is absolutely fine.
Correct. Yeah, I guess that when I thought that was understood, that you don't have to have dairy to do keto, and you don't have to have bacon to do a keto diet. You don't have to. So the method we use is, here's an array. Here's a list of all the foods you can eat. Choose the ones you like, and of course choose the ones that you don't have a negative sensitivity to. And that's the way we teach it. Yeah, there are a lot of strange misconceptions about what keto is and what it can be, when really what it means is you're in a keto metabolism, burning fat really well.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for clearing up all these misconceptions for us. There is, as you mentioned, a lot of information on the internet, and unfortunately, a lot of it is unfounded. A lot of it is myths, and that's what our job is to do on this channel, is to try and set the record straight, clear up the misconceptions, and make the confusion out there into keto clarity. So thank you very much for that. And that's all we have for today. Don't forget to get Dr. Westman's free top 10 fat loss tips. The link is in the description. And then as well, if you'd like to learn more about Adapt Your Life Academy and our upcoming online courses, you can find us on adaptyourlifeacademy.com. If you've enjoyed this video and like to see future videos, you can always find us on our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts under the name of Adapt Your Life. Eric, once again, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to chatting again next week on another interesting topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Glenn.
Bye.
If you like this video, you're going to love our Adapt Your Life Academy. So click on the link in the description to find out more.